I was born in 1934 in a town in Ukraine, which is Belarus, on the border, near Pinsk. The name of the town is Cernik. When the war broke out, the Germans came in to our town in 1941. Was before 1941, it was part of Poland. In 1939, and from 1939 to 41, the Russians took it over. In 1941, the Germans came in to our town and they killed every man from 16, 14, and up. My father was killed at that time. Things were rough. I was adopted by a Ukrainian family. They didn't have no kids. And I was about from 1941 to 1942 with that family. End of 1942, the woman came crying. And she says, I have to go back to town. What happened at that time? The Germans came in for the second killing. And they killed every child, everything that's walked for the Jewish people. Since the people know me, I was with a family, so I could walk into town. When I saw people run, I kept running with my uncle. I see my uncle run. Well, I didn't know exactly what's going to happen, what's going on. We ran into the bush with our clothes, and we stayed over the bush. But when we stayed over the bush, we hear the shooting and the killing. They killed everybody who was in town, who didn't run away. As we were walking on the second day in the bush, or the third day deeper in the bush, we saw people with rifles. We thought it's police. So we started to run. So they yelled, it's ours, don't run, don't run. And it was a group of 4 partisans armed with rifles. So they said we could stay behind them, okay? To organize the younger people and train them, and they went away and they got arms. Then we survived on blueberries. Like if not, we learned how to differentiate all the mushrooms, the good mushrooms and the bad mushrooms. We learned how to use the water, and we had clay pot to cook. So we went deep in the bushes. The Germans didn't have time to get in the bushes because they were busy. We were walking to the bush till 1940, end of 42, beginning of 43. End of 4 station, the Germans were bombing like crazy, and typhus broke out because after running for 2 years in the bush with no salt, no real food, so got sick, and I got sick on typhus. Also, they were bombing. I was sick of typhus and I couldn't get up anymore. So I had a cousin in the name of Abraham Turkanic. And somebody told him that I'm very sick. So he was in the first line fighting. But it was a few miles. He came back, he found me, and he picked me up and they put me in a Russian hospital. It's a frontline hospital. I woke up in the morning on white sheets normal food. I couldn't eat the food because it was salt. We didn't have salt for a whole 2 years, not enough. So everything's salty. Now, when I feel good, usually it's a first line hospital. They give the soldiers first aid. They send them to the back, or they send them back to their division, their battalions. For me, they didn't know what to do with me. So they kept me with them. Well, as they didn't know, as they moved on with the first line, and they went into Poland. General Zhukov wanted to come and see the wounded soldiers. So I remember they were cleaning the hospital and everything. And naturally, I was waiting to see him because I was a little kid running around the hallway. Nurses played with me, everything. So as I came in with the jeeps and the security, the guard, I jumped in, I looked at him straight in the eyes. He looked at me, and he gave a deep look at me, and he says, "What is that young kid doing here?" To the head surgeon. Her name, so she said, the Partisans brought him in. He was healed out, and we don't know where to send him. So he says, it's not a place for kids. It's a first line hospital. Send him to Kiev, to the head office of the Partisans, and they took care of him. On the following day, I had a captain, and we ride to Kiev. We came in Kiev. The captain brought me to the head office, the head office with the Partisans there, often, to find my name. And they said, "Where are you born?" I told them where I was born. They said, "Okay." They gave me a bunch of money for all the time, and they gave me a card where I can pick up dry food at any city once a day. So they said, "We give you that for 2 months." Well, I told them, I said, "Where can you find anybody, relatives or somebody?" I said, "Rovno." She says, "Okay, you're going to go to Rovno, to the city." As I walk around in the city, somebody yells at me, Syomka. She started to speak Jewish. I understood Jewish, but I haven't spoken for a long time. So I said, she's crazy what she wants. But later on, I turned around, she said, "Look, don't you remember?" And I didn't remember her. She says, "Your uncle is here." But she said, "My uncle is here." Then I turned around and started to talk to her. She took me to my uncle. Then I stayed with my uncle. Well, what happened, I didn't go back to tell the captain that I'm going to stay. So they looked all over for me in the city, because he was responsible for me. So later my uncle said, "You better go." So I went over and I told him, he was so happy. He said, "You saved my life." Anyway, I told him, he says, "Okay." I went and I stayed with my uncle. A month later, the war was finished. You know? When the war was finished, was a law, every Polish citizen can go back to Poland if he wants. So my uncle decided he goes back to Poland. So naturally I went with my uncle. As we came into Poland, I joined a group of kids with no parents, like me, a lot of them, younger people, and I didn't want to stay with my uncle. So I stayed with them, and they organized us as the future to go to Palestine. They called it a kibbutz, you know. So it was Queen Elizabeth's birthday. So Britain was in charge of Palestine, so the Queen gave a donation like 300 certificates for kids from Europe to go to Palestine. As we came to Palestine, they took a picture of us, me and another 3 boys. As they took a picture in the United States, my aunt saw the name Turkerich. So she wrote a letter to her girlfriend, because she was not far away from that school where I was, Boots, to go and check out if it's her nephew. So one day on a Saturday, I remember a lady came and a man that says, "Is your name Israel?" I said, "Yes." "Are you born there and there?" I said, "Yes." He says, "You know, we're a friend of your aunt, and you got an aunt." So he gave me a telephone number, and then I had connection with my aunt in the United States. And then my aunt was in cashier with my brother Benny, and she sent me Benny's address. Now I could talk, write a book, a lot of things would happen then.
Memories as they grow older tend to grow colder and then disappear. The burden is now on your shoulder. You have a message, you must make them hear.